Hello everyone, I'm Veranthony Campbell, and today I'm discussing phenomenological research methodology and its application into my study on educational equity and cannabis compliance training for social equity entrepreneurs. Qualitative research seeks to understand human experiences, meanings, and perceptions through non-numerical data collection and analysis. Unlike quantitative research, which measures how many or how much, qualitative research explores how and why, diving deep into lived experiences of participants. In education, qualitative research is invaluable for understanding complex phenomena like student motivation, teacher beliefs, and cultural dynamics in classrooms. In my case, I'm exploring how social equity entrepreneurs experience mandatory compliance training while carrying historical trauma from prohibition and the war on drugs. For my research project, I've selected phenomenological research design. Phenomenology is a qualitative methodology that seeks to understand the essence of a lived experience from the perspective of those who have experienced it, as described by Neubauer and others in 2019. Why phenomenology over other qualitative designs? First, it's not narrative research. While narrative research tells chronological life stories, phenomenology distills the essential structures of conscious experience across multiple moments. This is what I need to understand how social equity entrepreneurs experience compliance training at its core. Second, it's not a case study. Case studies examine bounded systems like a specific school or program. My research focuses on the experience itself, not an organizational case or institution. Phenomenology fits because I need to uncover how historical trauma, cultural disconnection, and systemic barriers shape the lived experience of compliance education. This requires deep exploration of subjective meaning making, which is phenomenology's strength. Phenomenological research relies on specific data collection methods designed to capture rich experiential data. First, semi-structured interviews are the primary method. In-depth, open-ended interviews are the cornerstone of phenomenological research. I'll conduct an interview with the social equity cannabis entrepreneur, asking them to describe their experiences with compliance training in detail, focusing on emotions, meanings, and perceptions. For example, I might ask, describe your experience completing mandatory compliance training. What stands out most in your memory? Second, reflexive journaling for research bracketing. As the researcher, I'll maintain a reflexive journal to bracket my assumptions, acknowledging my dual role as both researcher and training provider, as recommended by Englander and Morley in 2023. This ensures findings reflect the participants' lived experience, not my predetermined conclusions that might benefit my company. Third, literature review and document analysis as supplementary methods. I'll conduct a comprehensive literature review of scholarly research on social equity, trauma-informed pedagogy, and adult learning theory. I'll also review regulatory training requirements and existing training materials to contextualize the participants' experience within broader systemic issues. Why do these methods work? These approaches prioritize the participants' voice and subjective experience, allowing me to capture the phenomenon as they experience it, which is essential for designing trauma-informed, culturally responsive training. Ethical research is paramount, especially when working with vulnerable populations affected by historical trauma from the war on drugs. My research includes several critical ethical safeguards that exceed standard IRB requirements. First, informed consent with explicit risk disclosure. The participant will receive a detailed consent form explaining potential risks, including inadvertent disclosure of compliance struggles that could trigger regulatory scrutiny. The consent process emphasizes voluntary participation and the right to withdraw at any time without consequence. Second, trauma-informed interview protocols. Following SAMHSA guidelines from 2014, the interview will use trauma-informed approaches. The participant controls the pacing, can skip questions, or pause the interview, and mental health resources will be provided if needed. This ensures the research process doesn't replicate the state-sanctioned surveillance that categorizes prohibition. Third, regulatory non-attribution through anonymization. All identifying information, including the participant's name, business name, location, and state jurisdiction, will be removed and replaced with a pseudonym to protect them from competitive or regulatory harm. Fourth, enhanced data security beyond standard protocols. Interview recordings and transcripts will be stored on encrypted, password-protected devices with no cloud backup to prevent potential subpoena or regulatory access. Data will be destroyed within 2 years of study completion. Fifth, researcher reflexivity and bias mitigation. As the founder of Jane Verbatim, LLC, a cannabis compliance training company, I bring insider knowledge but also potential bias. I will maintain a reflexive journal documenting my assumptions, bracketing my personal business interests, and ensuring findings reflect the participant's authentic lived experience rather than predetermined conclusions. Sixth, community benefit sharing. To honor the participant's contribution, Jane Verbatim LLC will offer a free scholarship seat in future compliance training courses, ensuring research directly benefits the person who made it possible. These protocols exceed standard requirements because social equity entrepreneurs face unique vulnerabilities. They carry historical trauma from prohibition and criminalization. They face business precarity in a heavily regulated industry where compliance failures can result in license revocation. And they face power asymmetry with a researcher who is also developing a competing training service. Beyond cannabis compliance, phenomenological research offers powerful applications across education. It can help us understand how first-generation college students experience imposter syndrome. It can explore how teachers of color experience microaggressions in predominantly white schools. It can investigate how students with learning disabilities perceive academic accommodations. Phenomenology centers voices that are often marginalized in educational research, making it an essential tool for equity-driven inquiry. By focusing on lived experience, phenomenology reveals how educational systems either support or undermine the very population they claim to serve. Phenomenological research allows us to understand not just what happens in education, but how people experience it. And that experiential understanding is critical for designing learning environments that truly serve all learners, especially those who have been historically marginalized by systems of oppression. I look forward to hearing about the methodologies you've chosen and discussing how we can ensure our research is both rigorous and ethical. Thank you.